Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Have you thought about writing a book, or have you written a book? Well, today we are going to talk about that as well as other things. And so I have Karen Soven in the house, and my name is Charisse Walker, your host. And without further ado, Karen, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen, and I have a 3-decade career in the luxury business and always wanted to write a book about my journey to inspire other people to keep going and not give up. And that's what my book is all about. And it's a true story.
I love that. So let's talk briefly about the industry that you were in and that you left. What did
Okay.
you do?
I always worked for a designer. I never planned to do that. I just stumbled into it. A designer that made high-end luxury goods. And I did extremely well at that. And when 2008 financial crisis came and I was trying to sell luxury in a market like Palm Beach with the Bernie Madoff scandal that could no longer afford it, I had to totally pivot. I was a single mom at the time and start my own, I guess, gig or side business or whatever you call it. And I did it. And everything I had learned up until then, just kept me pushing forward to be able to recreate a business during those times. And then later, when I met my second husband, a lawyer, and we got married, I did the same thing. I showed him all the same things that I had done for myself with his law practice. So basically, I just wanted to share those ideas with people in the market, in the workforce, about how they could do it too, through creative, truthful storytelling.
So when you left that industry, the luxury industry, and then you started your own business, was the business your book that you started, or was it?
No. I had been doing to give back to my community. I had been making all these favors, party favors for baby showers, all the charity events. I had an old friend in New York, a high school friend, that I had encouraged him to start his business. And I realized there was a gap in the party favor book, or because we were in Palm Beach. And at that time, there was no internet. We're talking 95 on. He would give me products that I would wrap up in this beautiful cellophane and the ribbon, and you could see the pattern, ceramics, paper products, and I would match the theme of whatever the event was to the product I was crafting or just wrapping up. And so then I started a small business doing that and just selling those favors. What I had done as a hobby, I made that into a business.
So let's now fast forward, and you decided to write a book. So what made you decide to do that?
I just felt I had started writing it before COVID, and I just thought it was just such an interesting story. And I just felt this like compelling urge to share it. And as a voracious reader myself, I knew where books that I loved were lacking, and I wanted to write a true story that read like upmarket fiction. So in essence, it's a luxury product, but for the masses. One thing I love my business. I love that I could always make people feel so good by selling them these luxury products. But part of me was sad that it was only a certain percentage of people that I could sell to. Whereas with the book, whether it's audiobook or Kindle, I feel like I'm giving everybody a glimpse, not into how they can prosper, but into how one girl did it in the heart.
Good for you that you did that.
What I think is so interesting about it is that I went there working, these are my clients, and then through my hard work and my authenticity, then I became one of them. So now I'm the one donating the favors to all the charities that are in my book, or that I have chapters in my book. I have donors underwriting. Oh, that because of if they support the charity, will underwrite a mug with her book title on it, or that kind of stuff. And that was something I never even expected, which I thought was so interesting.
So, how long did it take you to write your book, first of all?
I don't even know because every time I had a family crisis, I had to stop, but I probably did it in 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, so did
Yeah.
I.
Mhm.
My second one, it's gone a lot faster, but that first one, blood, sweat, and
Oh,
tears.
yes. Yes, especially because mine is memoir. You're reliving all of those.
Yes.
Another reason I wrote it, what I want everyone to know is that with publishing being so much more accessible now, I think everybody should find someone in their family who can write their story. If they can't do it themselves, like you and I did, because I believe the stories that you hand down are almost more important than, your parents trying to give you upward mobility through education and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because history repeats itself, good or bad. You gotta learn from it, right?
So I think everyone should somehow I did mine through journals. I always felt that what was happening to me was so exciting for some girl whose mom was a first generation American. So, but I didn't even really need my journals. But if I did, just to fact check stuff, I did go back to them to make sure I had the right places and times.
I did that too. And
Yep.
then
I wanted everything to be correct.
the and there's one that it was like a song that my one of my first boyfriends, and I couldn't remember the song, so I go to my journal and I didn't write it in there. I didn't even know the title of it. It's like something about "I love you, I love you, I love you," and but I'm like, "Okay, that's why I don't remember the song because I didn't know it back then either."
Right. Right. That's so funny.
Yep, that's great. Okay, so are you a self-publisher or do you publish?
It was published with a company called Legacy Launchpad.
Okay.
And I interviewed so many publishers, and just like I always did everything else in my life, I really wanted just it was just the right fit for me because I felt like they were like me when I was working for a designer. Everybody was so passionate about my project, and I was so happy that I was able to give this whole team of people something to work on. Like, the designers had given me in the past a beautiful luxury product. It's kind of like a reverse synthesis, but the girl who founded the publishing company, Anna David, she called it fiction, but it was based on her life experiences. So I figured somebody who wrote a book like that would know how to handle my story.
So what do you wish you would have known that you know now that you've written the book, like starting out?
I wish I would have known. And it wouldn't have changed. I'm kind of glad I didn't know it because I probably wouldn't have pushed so hard to write it. And I wish I would have known that now in the world we live in, people's attention spans are limited. And selling a book is a hard process, even though I did that my whole life. That's how I made a living and a very good one. But I wish it was more about connecting people to the story versus all the self promotion you have to do. That's just not my thing.
I 100% agree. It's like I wrote the book, I put all my time and energy, and now I'm like, "Oh, now I have to go let people know that I wrote it."
It's almost like as a salesperson, I know that my products would have never sold if I didn't bring them out. And my editor said to me, "It's such a shame that you were in sales because you have this talent for writing." I said, "But you don't understand." I said, "I was telling a story every day. That's how I sold these products. It's all a story." And I'm just, I don't know. It seems I love getting the feedback when I go in my community in Palm Beach at the events, but I don't know. I don't want to. I hope people can find it. I hope people can find it online in whatever form they want to read it, audio, Kindle, hardcover, paperback will be out in December. But at the same time, I don't want to push it on people.
Yeah. So when you say audio, did you read your book or did
I did not read it. And this is why I was successful in business. I am so meticulous about every detail. They sent me auditions from voiceover actresses, and I picked the one that I thought was best to tell my story. And I sat in the studio with her in LA, making sure, because my book has a lot of Hebrew pronunciations, there's British characters. She got every accent right. And that alone was a whole other completely exciting process. And again, I probably could have read it, but I wanted to give somebody, mm, somebody I wanted to give somebody that work, somebody who's a professional.
Well, that's really nice of you.
Well, luckily, because I did so well in my industry, I'm able to do all these things.
So are you doing the book full time and the promotion and things, or
I have been, I totally have been, and, luckily, Palm Beach is a seasonal place, and it will end when the season's over, going to all these charity events and, talking about it, and like I said, there was a mug with a picture of the book even in one favor bag, there's gonna be something else in another favor bag, but
that's a great idea.
it is a great idea, and everybody loves it because then they become part of my story or they become part of Palm Beach, so it's kind of fun, but, honestly, I can't wait till it's over.
Okay, so let's talk about your book. What I know it's about you, but give us some details about it. Why would somebody buy it?
Someone would buy it if they want that typical reluctant hero story about how just about a girl following her path, not for money, getting there, getting to that side, but just by becoming successful by doing what they do best despite all the perils that are thrown at me. And it's funny and it's satirical. And I think it's an enjoyable way to read that kind of rags to riches story. And set against the beautiful backdrop taking place on Palm Beach Island, a place that very few people have access to. It's a glimpse into a world people would never see. If I hadn't been a young mom and had to move there because I couldn't afford to stay in New York City, I would have never known it. And it was just a beautiful way. It was about community, about the power of I didn't have any relatives there, and the community had to help me raise my daughter, um, help me with my business. I didn't understand it then that these people had all come from those generational businesses. And so they were so happy to help someone that was trying to do the same thing, obviously on a smaller level. So I think that's why people will like reading it. They'll get the story, but it's entertaining.
And you learn. I like that because especially as a single mom, I've been there too. The village does have
The Village. And I think now with obviously I didn't know this was happening because I wrote most of it during COVID. Just those small interactions that happen every day in a community. My business was a local community-based business, even the ones I worked in before, I had my own, but people can't just be sitting you can't not have that community. You have to find that. And in the one thing I'm so happy about COVID is that people don't have to be stuck in a city because of that's where their work is. They can choose to live in an environment based on their lifestyle, whether they like the mountains, the beach, the country. But you have to have that, especially if you're raising a family, you have to be able to count on that community support.
no, that's very, very true. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to ask for help.
It is, but you have to.
You do. So let's talk about being a mother. You said 2 kids, right?
One daughter, three stepkids.
Oh, okay. That's all right. So, as a mother, especially if even a single mother, what are some things that you learned in that process?
The things I learned is that you have to let the child develop. You can't just do everything for them because you do it better or because you have to really take that time. I didn't, because of all my hardship, I didn't want my daughter, my own daughter, to fail. So I was a little bit too, um, I don't know, helicopter or whatever that is, because I didn't want her to fail like I did. But kids learn from failing. So if so you have to let them.
Yeah.
You can't push, you can't make everything so cozy and cushy that because it's those challenges that are going to make them grow.
It's so true. My son has a car that it doesn't work right now. And so he parked it at our house because his landlord won't let him have 2 cars where he is. And so he came over, and one day I was going after my puppy this week, and I look over and his window is down on the driver's side. And it's supposed to rain that day and rain a lot. And we haven't had rain like all winter. But so I call him, I said, "Hey, your window's down." He's like, "Well, the keys are in the house. Like if you'll just roll it back up." Well, the battery was dead. And so I had to leave. And so he came over later that afternoon and he finds out that he can't roll the window up because for whatever reason, the window fell off the track
God.
while sitting in our driveway. I don't know how that happened, but I can blame it on the earthquake. Kidding. But so anyway, he's like, "Mom, I'm learning so much. I'm just learning, I'm trying, and I can't get ahead. And I'm just learning so much." And it is hard because when we were raising him, I mean, like we were on food stamps for a short time. And then to pay for his band, we had to sell sugar cookies. I mean, we were broke. And where we are today is way different, completely different. And I think it's hard because he watches, he's like, "Well, why are you making, like, you could help me." And although we do occasionally might fill his gas tank up or something, I'm not going to, and it's because he has to learn, and it's hard to watch, but he learns self-reliance, he learns to depend on himself, he learns confidence that way, and it's hard, but, a mentor of mine once said, "Confidence equals competence."
Yes, that's a great saying. Love that.
And, he actually lives in Florida, and, as hard as it is, if you give them confidence, they know that they can accomplish it.
Right. That's amazing. I love that.
So
It was, and especially in the community where I was in, I was one of the only working mothers living in a house on Palm Beach Island, and with a young husband before I got divorced. But then even when I was divorced, I never let my daughter see the hardship. I just figured out a way. But she came from this thing where she went to the same private school as all these people, but yet it was two working parents who gave her that lifestyle. So it was really hard after college for her to realize, wow, whatever I'm going to make is going to be what I make,
mhm. Yep.
make of herself rather.
So let's fast forward. You're divorced, now you're remarried, now you have 3 bonus children.
I had to help them all too with their journey and help them realize, but that was so fun for me because I guess I'm just good at that. I'm being really open and about like what your interests are, because I really believe people have to do what they're passionate about and somehow the money will come. You'll figure out a way to make the money. I don't believe you can just do so. Like all 3 of them had completely separate interests and just was there to help them. Their mom had been a stay-at-home mom married to a lawyer. Now I'm his wife, but I showed them how, I just gave so much attention to them with their internships and tried to open doors for them and move them and gave them the confidence to explore whatever fields. And now I have 4 kids that are all very passionate about what they do, 4 different fields, 4 different cities, but I'm really proud of that.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
how did you create the relationship? I mean, how old were they when you
Well, one girl was just leaving for college. But what was interesting was that my husband, that's kind of the reason I was introduced to him. His son, he was the custodial parent of the son who was only a year older than my daughter. So that's also a theme that transcends my book, was that I never realized how much it wasn't hard for me to have this 12-year-old boy. And a lot of that is in my life. It depicts that relationship when I met my husband and when I met him because they lived together and that whole relationship. But he's probably the closest to me out of even my own daughter because he was with his dad all the time and I was the girlfriend there. So I was able to take that same strategy and apply it to him. So it talks about it doesn't have to be your biological child. You can still make an impact. You can still, and I did that with all my friends' kids too, like my friends that I grew up with, even if not college roommates, whatever, if their child, anybody who happened to stumble across my path, and that's what really one of the themes in the book is, I was just willing to help them.
I think you have a very giving heart.
Yes, 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 yes.
So, if you were to give advice to a mother who is getting married and has bonus children on the other side, what is some advice that you would give to them?
Just let them know that you're there for them. You're there to help. You're not the wicked stepmother. You're not trying to replace their mother. You're there. It's just almost like having extra love, somebody else there to help push you forward. I never I never tried to I never said one bad word about my husband's ex-wife. I never compared what I did to what she did. I just did what I was able to give, not because I was trying to get them to like me, just because that's what I do. Like the girls needed help with their internship wardrobes or their makeup or how to present themselves from after their education in the workforce and all that stuff. So,
That's amazing. Okay, and I have to touch on something, and I don't want to embarrass you, so if you don't want to go there, it's okay. But when we first started, you said, I'm very shy. So you would never know it because you
I know.
have such a huge heart. And so,
Right, and but every time I go to one of these events and I have to be all I'm totally pushing myself out of my comfort level,
Mhm.
but I also think that's good too, and that's a theme of my book. You don't wanna become complacent. So that was a huge thing for me to but that's what I loved about the writing process. Like when I was selling those luxury goods, I had to be on every day. I had to look the part, I had to act the role, and I did. But I loved completely switching gears and then writing about it and using the language of words where you could be just on your own. But yes, every one of these. And like you said, I am open. And like you said, people think I'm very attractive, but you have to realize you can't put people in boxes. Like just
right,
because I look like that doesn't mean.
you have to anxiety or debilitating. Yeah,
Right. You have
I'm the same
to
way.
yeah, you have to take everybody has different strengths and don't let the outside fool you
Mhm.
for what's on the inside.
No, that's true. You can put me in front of an audience, like on a stage to speak, I can deliver that. But if I have to be in a group of like 5 to 10 women,
Right.
women, that's hard for me. So I get it. I totally get it. Well, Karen, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
My email and my contact, I believe, is in my book, but then there's also my website, sunshineandmoney.com.
Love that. And what is the name of your book? Because I don't think we
It's called Once Upon a Time in Palm Beach. It's like a reverse Cinderella story where everybody there is looking to meet a Prince Charming, and I'm just trying to, looking for life and love. So, Once Upon a Time in Palm Beach, tales of life and love from the land of sunshine and money.
Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Charisse.
And
Thank you
Unbreakable,
for having me.
yeah,
Most grateful.
I'm glad that you were on.
Okay.
Unbreakable Moms, perfect example of resilience, of perseverance, of pushing yourself and just following your passion and your dream. And so that is all about what this podcast is about. And I hope you go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.